Welcome to Recover and Ready. It's time to talk Versus System to PCG. I'm Matt, and today we're bringing you Community Lists, featuring Professor X from the House of X box. But before we get started, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're interested in getting one of your decks featured, please send us your list at recoveryandready@gmail.com and we'll check it out. So let's talk Professor X from the House of X box. He's an X-Men affiliated main character, and at level 1 he has range, he's a 1/6, and has 5 health. His ability, A Dream Worth Having, lets us flip a yellow during the build phase, reveal 4 cards from our deck, and put all the X-Men and Brotherhood supporting characters that we find this way into our hand, then shuffle the rest back. In order to level up, we basically need to play 4 X-Men and or Brotherhood supporting characters, because we get an XP every time that one appears on our side, and we need 4 XP to level up. So right out the gate, Professor X hints at us wanting to play a deck that is crammed full of X-Men and Brotherhood supporting characters and have a pretty low curve, so that way we can spam the board with all these extra cards that we are drawing. The goal here is going to be to overwhelm our opponent right out the gates. Once we level up, Professor X becomes a 3/12, he still has range and 5 health. He still keeps the A Dream Worth Having ability, so we'll keep drawing a bunch of cards throughout the game, but he adds to it A Dream Worth Fighting For, where in the main phase we could pay a red, choose an X-Men or Brotherhood supporting character on our side, and put 1/1 counters equal to its attack on another X-Men or Brotherhood supporting character on our side. In addition to going wide from the start, this ability also lets us go tall, because we'll be able to stack a ton of counters on our little guys to make them bigger. And if we line up our hand and our plays right, we'll be able to squeeze additional value out of this due to some cool combos that can be found in the deck. Before we get to the list, let's talk goals. First, we want to showcase community decks. The more perspectives we bring in, the better gameplay we'll have. Second, we want to help new players out. It's easier for new players to evaluate card quality if they see examples of decks built by other players. Lastly, we want to find out what cards you guys would play. If you were playing Professor X, what would you be playing that you don't see in this list? Use the comments and let us know what your top picks are. This deck is built with Duality format legality in mind. Let's have a big shout out to DRobb from Buckeye for sending us this list and for organizing the online Duality League. So let's get to the list. First, we're playing all 4 copies of the Basics Training Ground and Academy, as well as School for the Gifted Youngsters, so that we can maximize Xavier's ability to use his skills. For 1-drops, we got Iceman, Jubilee, Toad, and Beast. Iceman, Jubilee, and Beast are all good team attackers with Xavier right out the gate. Iceman provides that freeze ability, which can slow down our opponent early, as well as slow down their biggest guys late in the game. And Toad's grab ability helps protect Xavier during the early turns. Our 2-drops are Hope Summers, Wolfsbane, Lorelei, and Blink. With such a big spread of X-Men supporting characters, Hope Summers takes on a huge range of abilities. Depending on who else you might have out, she might force discard, climb, freeze your opponent's characters, and have Berserker and Fearless, have the ability to give others +10/+10 till end of turn, let guys enter hidden. The possibilities seem endless, and the combos are definitely up to your creativity. She's definitely a great target for Xavier's ability to stack counters on her. For example, in a game that I played against this deck, my opponent brought in Marvel Girl, gave Marvel Girl the +10/10 when she entered, and then used Xavier's ability to stack 20 counters on Hope Summers. Facing down a Hope Summers with 20 counters on her and a million abilities definitely isn't where you want to be when you're playing against her. Wolfsbane's ferocious ability makes her a great target for getting huge from Xavier. Lorelei definitely makes for some tricky combat situations for your opponent, and Blink helps you hold down the fort by protecting your team. Our 3-drops here are for applying pressure. We got Sabretooth, who can get right to the back row, either at a pesky supporting character or your opponent's main. We got Wolverine and Dakin, who both get bigger every time they attack, multiple health, and depending on who they're hitting, they get their double attack. Havoc generates extra value every time we use a superpower, and Psylocke, if you can stack counters on her, she becomes a must-answer threat, as she'll be making your opponent discard cards every turn. And then we have Forge, whose inventions are really going to support the team. Let's start with the inventions that come in the original Fantastic Battles box. We have Gadget, Automaton, Machine, and Weapon. Since we're trying to flood the board, Machine is definitely the one that comes in the most handy, and both modes are actually good. The give all supporting characters +2/+2 can make our big board state suddenly become much taller, and the ability to reduce cost of supporting characters in our hand by 1 makes our ability to just empty our hand as we keep redrawing and refilling our hand with Xavier that much more powerful. For the X-Men inventions, we're playing Chronal Trigger, Power Neutralizer, and Blackbird. Chronal Trigger definitely has some cool uses here. For example, we can flicker our Iceman turn after turn to just keep freezing down their guys, or we could do the same thing with the Silver Samurai as we're trying to close out the game. Get a few turns in a row of Silver Samurai dragging a character up to their main character up to the front for us to put wounds on it. And since we're playing a deck that tends to flood the board, the Blackbird is a really cool invention because it can be filled up rather quickly with characters. Alright, now that we've talked Forge and inventions, let's get back to supporting characters. At 4 cost, we have Astra, Scarlet Witch, Unis, and Banshee. Astra gives us a way where sometimes we might be able to just start off the game putting wounds easily on a main character since she has 5 attack. Scarlet Witch helps out in some of those tricky combat situations where we just need to win combats despite not having the stats. Sometimes she'll get us there with a little bit of luck. Unis is a great way to stack huge counters on our guys using Xavier's ability. And Banshee is sort of a cool tech card for us. It's like basically a one-trick boomerang. All it can do is daze, but sometimes that means we come in, we daze something out of the way, get in that last point of damage to win the game, or we need to knock a ton of counters off of something. For example, Ms. Marvel, in the Duality format particularly, we might need to get a bunch of counters off her, play that Banshee, knock the counters off, and then keep going from there. At 5, we have one of my new favorite 5 drops, which is Sage. She comes in with a couple health and gives us the ability to basically attack into anything successfully. Magma with the 10 attack is a great target for Xavier to put big counters on something. And for our 6 drop, Silver Samurai, great closer, yank someone up to the front row and finish them off. And Logan, with so many cheap supporting characters, you can drop a Logan and then the following turn really spam the board and make your opponent's defenses a little bit tricky. And at our very top end, we have Ms. Marvel and Alpha. As we discussed previously, Ms. Marvel is an easy way to drop 20 counters on another supporting character in conjunction with Xavier's ability. And Alpha is actually a really good target to get some counters potentially. He's going to be gaining 2 random powers per turn. It only takes a small number of turns, though, for him to gain all of them. And 11 attack and 11 defense is good, but he's going to be extremely hard to get rid of with all those abilities if you have a huge stack of counters on top of that 11. So yeah. So to build this deck, it looks like we need House of X, X-Force, New Brotherhood, Marvel Battles, Days of Future Past, Freedom Force, Legacy, Crossover 4, and the Fantastic Battles. Basically, most of the stuff that has X-Men and Brotherhood characters in it. And Fantastic Battles being primarily for the inventions. And once again, a big shout out to DRobb from Buckeye. Thanks for sharing this deck with us and for allowing us to share it with others. And as always, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to Recover and Ready. Take care, y'all, and have fun playing.